What's up YouTube, Brian here back in with another video. Today we are going to be talking about a more budget conscious rod, and today we're going to review the Daiwa Tatula, the 2019 edition Tatula spinning rod. Not the Elite, the regular Tatula line 7-foot medium action spinning rod. So I picked up this rod 50% off. So last year, one of our local shops, Joe's, shout out to Joe's, every once in a while they do a 50% off rod sale. Everything in the store, it's kind of hyped. People line up for it, whatever. I ran to the store when I found out they were doing the sale. I combed the racks, and this rod stood out to me because after feeling it and playing with it a little bit in the store, I was like, this seems kind of sweet. So I took it home, and I actually had every intention of giving this rod to my dad as a gift. Sorry, Dad. I used this rod a few times. I actually took it on a couple trips last year and did some smallmouth fishing with it. And after using it, I decided this rod is a keeper because this is a gem. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the Tatula and Daiwa rod line in general, like the Tatula versus the Kage versus the Tatula Elite, and then kind of where this rod line kind of falls into that. So let's talk about that first, and then I'm going to talk about this rod specifically, and then we're going to do a quick bend test. So first, Tatula Elite, Tatula, and then the Kage rods. Daiwa is a very weird idea for why. I don't know why they came out with all these rod lines, because they're all essentially the same rod, just dressed differently. So the Daiwa Tatula Elite series rods, they are an SVF blank with a Fuji Alkanite K-series guide train. Unless you pay for the AGS version of the Daiwa Tatula Elites, which gives you the AGS jig guides and it adds like $100 to the price tag. But the non-AGS rods are SVF blanks, EVA foam grip with a Fuji Alkanite K-series guide train. Now, the base price for the non-AGS Tatula Elite rods is $180. The base price of the Tatula rod is $150. So it's $30 cheaper. The same SVF blank as the Tatula Elites, a slightly different, more revised guide train. The guide train on the Daiwa Tatula rods is actually a new guide train that just came out when these rods came out from Fuji. They are called the, it's still the K-series guide train, but it's the newest version with their corrosion control coating. So all of these stainless steel guides on these rods, on the Tatula line, not on the Tatula Elite line, have this CC guide train, and that stands for corrosion control, and it's actually designed for salt anglers to stop all the salt corrosion on the guides. So these actually have saltwater designed guide trains, and I think they did it because they look really cool. So these guide trains on the Tatula Elite rods are like a gunmetal, kind of almost a powder coated look. And then the rings inside of this is actually a newer, cheaper material called Fazlite, F-A-Z-L-I-T-E. So you got your Alkanite guides, and then these are slightly cheaper, and they're blue. So if you see rods that are coming out that have these like kind of dark blue rings, that's the Fuji Fazlite guide train. Now, the K-series guide train with the Fazlite inserts are a little bit of a step down from the Alkanite. I don't know if any fishermen, especially bass anglers, are even going to notice the difference in like performance, but they are cheaper. So the only step down really from the Tatula Elite to the regular Tatula rods is going to be you got a slightly cheaper guide material on this, and you don't have the name of one of the Elite anglers slapped onto the rod. I'm a firm believer that the Elite series, the reason there's like a $30 price bump between the regular Tatula rods and up to the Tatula Elites is they need to give the anglers a cut because they're the ones going out using those rods, hustling them, promoting them, and selling them essentially. So now the Kage rods, let's talk about that really quick. So when you're shopping for these, you're going to see these Tatula Elite rods, and then you might go into a local tackle store and see Kage rods. So the K-A-G-E, Kage, those rods and reels are essentially Daiwa Tatula rods that are kind of repackaged and added. They have a different cosmetic look, but they're the same SVF guide and actually the same Alkanite guide train as the Tatula Elites. Now, Daiwa threw a bone to the dealer network. So if you have a tackle shop and you're a Daiwa supplier, you're essentially getting your butt kicked by eBay and dropship companies on selling Tatula rods and Tatula reels You couldn't keep up with their prices because a lot of people are getting them way cheaper on eBay and dropship sites. So Daiwa threw a bone to the dealer network and said, how about we come up with a line of rods that aren't sold online, that can't be bought online, and you can only sell them in the store, and that's where the Kages came from. So the Kages are just hot-rodded, visually different Tatula products that give the shops a slightly better margin when they sell them. So if you go into a shop, they want you to buy the Kage rod, not the Tatula rod, because they're going to make a little more money on the Kage rod because they can promote it as like, oh, this is a special rod reel line that you can't buy anywhere else. You got to come into your local tackle shop. It was to drive foot traffic into local tackle shops instead of people buying these things off eBay. I don't know. Is it going to stick around? I don't know how well it's selling. I haven't talked to any shops to find out if they're actually selling Kage rods and reels versus just a Tatula rod and reel or a Tatula Elite. I don't know. But so anyway, as a consumer, just know that you have the Tatula Elite series rods, which are completely different cosmetically. They're gray with EVA foam grip, and they have actions designed by their pros, and they have alkanite guides. Same blank. You step down $30, you can go to the Tatula rods. These have the new Fazlite corrosion control guide train, and then they have full cork, and they're black and very unfinished, a very raw look on these rods. So if you prefer just straight black with a cork, no frills, nothing fancy, you're not into that like flat gray look of the Tatula Elites, then just get Tatula rods. Now, let's talk about this rod specifically. So I'm sorry I had to give you a whole history of what's going on with Daiwa because the marketing on all these rods is very strange. The rod itself, though, this 7-foot medium action spinning rod, I love this rod. Number one, the balance on this rod is fantastic. So right now I have a Tatula LT 3000 reel on this, and this is a 7-foot medium action spinning rod, and the balance point is right where you put your front two fingers. This rod is exquisitely balanced. St. Croix, this is how you should do it. Watch how Daiwa and some of these other rod companies balance their rods, because this is awesome. So when I hold the rod, I tend to have my pinky finger down here, and so my two fingers are right on that balance point, or even if I feel like I can choke up and then I'm grabbing that perfect balance point. So when you're holding this rod, it's fun. It's a really nice fit rod to fish all day. Now, what also is interesting is this being a 7-foot medium action spinning rod, this sucker is rated up to 3/4 of an ounce, which is a little high for a medium action spinning rod. It's bordering on medium heavy. Now, what's cool about this rod is it does have a pretty soft tip. The backbone kicks in right down to about here. Oh, my dog's coming in. Everybody, this is my Schnauzer Finn. He's going to hang out for the review. He loves going out bass fishing with me, so he sees a lot of these rods in action. So, it's got a pretty soft tip, but an extremely long backbone. So, it's a stout rod. This rod is really excellent at throwing finesse jigs. Any kind of stuff you need a little heavier of a rod, that's where this guy excels. But this thing can also do regular finesse. So if you want one spinning rod that is under $150, that you know you can do finesse jigs, throw slightly bigger, heavier paddle tail swim baits. I love throwing half ounce. I'm sorry, not half ounce. I love throwing. Get down. Sit. Thank you. I love throwing paddle tail swim baits with this rod in 1/4 ounce up to 3/8. This thing can actually go up to 3/8. Maybe you can throw half ounce on this if you really want to, but this rod can handle like the slightly higher, heavier end of the spectrum on weights. Plus, you can just throw wacky Senkos with this thing. You can throw Ned rigs. I use this rod all winter fishing on the river for smallmouth, and fighting smallmouth in the current with this rod was super fun. I never had any worries that I was going to lose a fish. This thing has a lot of power to handle current swimming fish. So if you even want like a rod that can fish northern pike, or like slightly bigger, toothier fish, this is a great spinning rod for that. This is not a drop shot rod. This is not a hair jig rod. So if you need to throw something very, very light, I wouldn't consider this rod to be great for that. But if you want to do like finesse jigs, Texas rigging, dragging, dark sleepers, any of that kind of stuff, this is a really versatile rod. Best thing is, you can find these rods for about $130 or less. Most tackle shops that sell these will knock like 10 to 20% off these things. I'm going to leave a link in the description at Sportsman Outfitters. You can find these things for, I think, $130 or maybe $130 or $140. Shipped, no tax. Okay, come here, buddy. Okay, sorry about that. But you can get this rod considerably cheaper than the Daiwa Tatula Elite rods, and I think I would actually rather have this rod. If I had a choice between this and the Tatula Elite version, I'm taking this rod because I like the cork grip. The cork isn't the highest end. I mean, it's pretty much what you expect for like a sub $150 rod. There's going to be a lot of filler, but if you seal it and take good care of it, it's going to be great. It's got a great foregrip, good I can never see that. Good balance. You got a little laser etched Tatula spider if you care about cosmetics in the corner. The fit and finish on this rod, it's your typical Daiwa. It's very clean. Nothing's off center. Nothing's misaligned. What's interesting is the fit and finish on like $150 Daiwa is great. Just like $150 Shimano is great. All the Japanese rods tend to look fantastic and have immaculate fit and finish. You are getting a hook keeper. What also is interesting is if you don't want to put a lightweight reel on this, and you want to run like a Stratac FL or just any other kind of Daiwa spinning reel, because the LT is very light, and it's got great balance with the LT, which I love. If you put a slightly heavier reel on this thing, the balance gets even better. So stick like a Fuego on it, or any other kind of reel you got laying around. The bounce points just the heavier reel you put on it, the bounce points just going to keep sliding down the grip and get better and better. I like lightweight reels because I like to have a full lightweight package, but if you have heavier reels laying around, slapping on this thing is going to get even like better balanced. So anyway, shout out to Daiwa. I think the Tatula rod line is awesome. I think for under $150, this is a serious contender. I don't think you need to step up to the Tatula Elites unless you really love some of the anglers that promote them and you want to get into some of those weird actions and powers that they have in the Tatula Elite line that they don't have in the regular Tatula line. The Tatula line is more of a bread and butter, your standard actions. If you want to get something a little crazier, then the Elite series, the Elite Tatula Elite rod line has a lot more options. But either way, you're getting the SVF blank, which is Daiwa's more sensitive blank material. It's the same thing, and whether you get the Kage, the Elite, or the Tatula rods. So don't think that if you're going up to the Elite, you're getting a better, more sensitive rod than like the regular Tatula. It's the same thing. It just looks different, and it's got an angler's name slapped to the blank. So with that being said, I'm going to do a quick bend test and show you that this thing is slightly stiffer than like a standard 7-foot medium X Pride. So let's jump over to that right now. Thank you. All right, so in my right hand, I have the 7-foot medium action Shimano X Pride, which I consider to kind of be the benchmark for 7-foot medium action spinning rods. The X Pride is rated up to a 1/2 ounce, whereas the 7-foot medium action Daiwa Tatula rod, which is like half the price of the X Pride, is rated a little higher, up to 3/4 of an ounce. Now this rod is a slightly stiffer action than the X Pride. The X Pride is literally, to me, is a perfect example of what a 7-foot medium action spinning rod should be. I've been using 7-foot medium action spinning rods forever, so the X Pride is kind of my the tip of the mountain for me as far as like the perfect action and power. Now, one thing to note is because it's a $150 cheaper rod, it's got a much cheaper guide train than the X Pride, and it has less guides. The X Pride has kind of like the average of 9 guides on a 7-foot medium action, or just most spinning rods in general. When you get up into like the $200 plus price range on spinning rods, you tend to get 9 to 10 to sometimes even 11 guides. The Daiwa Tatula rod has 8 guides. That's just a reflection of its price point. So if you're ever curious, sometime go through all your spinning rods and count the guides. See if it has 9 or less or 9 or more. It's kind of interesting. So let's take a look at the action real quick. So we're going to do the bend test. Now, I'll put the X Pride on the outside and I'll put the Tatula on the inside. They both are 7 feet. So we're going to go right from the tip. So if you notice right off the rip, the X Pride is a little softer at the tip, which is totally expected because the Tatula rod is a little stiffer. That's why it's rated a little higher, from 3/4 of an ounce instead of the 1/2 ounce of the X Pride. So we'll move down the blank a little bit, and this is where they both kind of even out. The X Pride is still a little softer, but when you get kind of down to the middle part of the blank, they kind of really even out. If we go up higher on the blanks, that's kind of where the X Pride gets a lot softer. Now it doesn't seem like it, but I don't know, right there you can probably, I don't know if you can see that, but the X Pride is dipping down quite a bit. And when I'm looking at the parabolic bend, the X Pride has a much smoother arc and a much more dramatic arc than the Tatula. I would say the Tatula 7-foot medium action spinning rod is more of a like extra fast. whereas the X Pride is more of just a fast, I don't know really where you kind of cut the, where you kind of splitting hairs on calling it fast or extra fast. But overall, I really like the Tatula 7-foot medium action spinning rod. If you want one rod that can do finesse, but also go a little heavier to baits with slightly heavier hooks, this would be a great shaky head rod. If you're a shaky head angler, really look at this rod, especially if you're a Daiwa guy. Because this is rated up to 3/4 of an ounce, you could throw heavier shaky heads with this, like maybe even a 1/2 ounce shaky head, or like a 1/4, 3/8, 1/2 ounce, those heavier shaky heads if you want to fish deeper. You could definitely do that with this Tatula spinning rod. So that's all I got for now. If you got any questions about the Tatula rods in general, whether it's the Elites, the Tatulas, the Kages, I've played and messed with a lot of them. I've actually owned a few Tatula Elites. I don't have any currently in my lineup, but I have used 2 or 3 of them in the past. So I have a lot of thoughts on them. So just hit like and subscribe. Leave any questions in the comments. And until next time, take it easy, all my rod snobs out there. Bye.